Welcome to the Hank Cisco Show, ladies and gentlemen. Please, don't touch that dial. We got a great show here. Hey, my guest today is from the District Attorney's Office, and he's going to talk about what the District Attorney's Office is, what they do, and what he does. And we got a couple of little announcements there, but this is my second show of the year, of the season, and this is the 21st. And my first show last week, my guest didn't show up. So I'm still waiting for a phone call from Einstein Montgomery Hospital. What guy, one was in charge of marketing, the other guy was communication. So I didn't communicate. And I'm waiting for a phone call to book you for the show. People want to know something about the hospital. So my phone, you got my number? Let me hear from you, okay? Now, get back here to our show here at Norristown High School. My guest, weighing 160-some pounds from the District Attorney's Office in Montgomery County, Thomas W. McGoldrick, right?
That's correct.
I said it right?
That's right.
And he's a Deputy Chief Attorney of the Chief of Trials, right?
Correct.
Okay, now, that's a big title. Now, tell me what you do.
First of all, I haven't weighed 160 pounds since
Well,
since about seventh grade. Okay.
What do you weigh?
About 220, I'm afraid.
How much?
About 220.
That's right, you are about, how tall are you?
About 6'4".
Yeah, that's right. You were in the elevator coming up here today. Yeah.
I'm
Oh my
definitely
God.
definitely a heavyweight these days.
You're in heavyweight division, yeah. All right. So, well, before we talk about Montgomery County, tell me something about yourself. Now, I mean, I'm sure your dad will be glad to hear that you're here in Montgomery County. And tell me, where were you born?
They'll be thrilled that I'm actually on a television show.
Right.
I was born in Chicago, Illinois. I'm the youngest of 6 kids. Big Irish Catholic family.
Irish Catholic, right? Joe Smythe, he's your buddy,
sure.
right?
Yep. He's in.
I was born in Ireland, Coney Island. No. Oh, well, it's a one-liner.
Judge Smythe, of course, is a Notre Dame guy,
Bishop
and
Kendrick.
so he and I kind of butt heads once in a while because I went to Boston College.
Oh, yeah? Oh.
They are rivals these days.
Great guy.
He is a wonderful man. But as I said, I was in Chicago, the youngest of 6 kids. I have 4 brothers and a sister. My sister, lucky for her, was born first.
Oh.
So she's the oldest, and she ruled
guards,
ruled the roost. And
Right,
yes,
right,
and
right.
she did. She had 5 bodyguards growing up, and my father worked in the supermarket business his entire career. And in 1974, my family moved to the Philadelphia area. My dad went to work for Acme Markets, which I'm sure everybody's familiar with, and I grew up in Lower Merion Township, and went off to, as I said, Boston College for college, and I went to Temple University for law school.
Okay. And then, so now you became an intern with what judge?
After law school, I became the law clerk for Judge Moore,
Judge Moore.
Bernard
Great
Moore.
guy, great.
A wonderful man, a mentor.
Him and Joe Smythe are my buddies. They have lunch together.
They're good friends.
Right.
Yeah, very good friends. Judge Moore has been a tremendous help to me. One nice thing about working for a judge is, they have a lot of clout, and certainly Judge Moore put in a good word for me because he knew I wanted to be a prosecutor, and he never missed a chance to lobby for me with Mike Marino and Bruce Castor.
Yeah, I've Bruce Castor on a show. Talking about judges, just last week, a homegrown, born in Norristown, Pennsylvania, Anthony Sciarica, was honored in the Supreme Court.
Right.
I think Charlie Turnetta and Judge Carolyn Coluccio was there at the ceremony. I understand there was about 400 people there.
Yeah, I read about it in the
So I
paper.
understand it's something, we're going to develop something and honor him right here in the Norristown area.
I think that'd be great.
I knew his grandfather. His grandfather used to sell clothes, had a clothing store in Norristown.
Is that right?
And my mother would send me to get shoes, hats, coats, whatever we needed, and put it on the book. But I always liked leather heels, I thought, make noise, But what happened is sometimes they had leather heels, but it wasn't my size. but they were too tight. And I bought them anyhow. You know, my mother would send me down. She didn't know, you know.
Right.
So, and he didn't know. He's like, oh, they fit all right. But that's why I have bunions, you know. Because you tight shoes gives you bunions. And when I
Right.
got in the Army, it got me out of a lot of walks because of my stuff. But congratulations, Anthony Shricka. And you're going to hear from us. As the ambassador in Norristown, we're proud of you. And we're proud of all our judges, but especially come from the bottom to the top. That's next step to the Supreme Court of the United States.
Get him on your show.
Okay, I had to get that in there,
Yeah,
okay?
get him on your show.
Oh, I wish I could. I'm going to try. Try.
Sure.
Well, if we honor him, I'm going to make a big time. Big time. We're planning something. Okay, now, you work, now your job. Tell me something about the job you got now. You're trying
Sure.
the trials.
Sure. Well, I'll tell you a little bit about how the DA's office is set up,
yes.
and then I'll tell you where I fit in.
A lot of people, we want people to know that the district attorney office is your lawyer. You don't have to go get a lawyer if your son or somebody beats you up or anything. The police make the investigation, get the information, send it to the district attorney's office, they prosecute, okay? They're your lawyer. You don't have to go get a lawyer, okay?
Absolutely.
Let the other guy get the lawyer. They're gonna beat you up. Go ahead.
Absolutely. We represent the people, and we work for
Right.
the people, and we look out for them, the people who have been victims of crimes.
Right. So,
And so the DA's office is, I believe we have about 40 attorneys total in the office. The way it's set up is obviously up at the top of the office is Risa Furman, who is the elected district attorney.
Lisa, thank you for getting my man here for guests. Go
That's
ahead.
right. Although I do have to go back to work as soon as
Right.
we're done here.
Go ahead. That's right. That's right.
Oh, I do. I'll be working late tonight, actually. Yes, Risa's up at the top. She is the elected district attorney of Montgomery County. She is a career prosecutor, and
Good.
I mean, right out of law school, she started in the DA's office, and she worked her way up to the top. Second in command is the first assistant district attorney,
Who's
and
that?
that is Kevin Steele,
Steele.
also a career
Yeah.
prosecutor.
Somebody just left your office to get up in Washington.
That would be Bob Sander.
Yeah.
Yes, Bob was, I had the pleasure of working with Bob for several years in the DA's office. He was also a member of the Army Reserves in the JAG
okay.
Corps, and he spent a year over in Africa recently,
Okay.
being a lawyer in the
That's
Army.
tourist, something.
Yes,
to it,
and
right.
so he
Special.
when he came back, he interviewed for and landed a job with the Department of Justice in Washington, working on counterterrorism. Yeah, he landed a really nice job, and
Yeah.
so he's off to Washington to work on the counterterror.
That's good. Okay, which means, you know, that we got a lot of talent there, and everybody's.
Yeah, we sure do.
right.
I mean, that's one of the nice things about working in the DA's office. Yes, it really is one of the best things, is the people.
Right.
We have a lot of wonderful, talented people in that office.
Right.
It's the kind of a job that attracts good people.
Right, right.
You know, it's a job where you can do good, and that appeals to the right people.
Right,
I mean,
right,
people
right.
who are interested in doing that,
Right, right.
you know, by nature are those kinds of people. You know, the good people that you really want to be around and work with. And also, we get really talented people too from some of the best schools
You
around.
got- And also, you got the district attorney's office oversees the county detectives, which does a great job.
That's
You know,
very
I'm
true.
a former county detective, and I can tell you, I can vouch that I've been around this country with different conferences, different places, and let me tell you, we're top.
Yep.
We're top. you know, and,
Absolutely.
So I'm
A lot of people.
proud. I'm proud of our district attorney's
Sure.
office. Our tax money is being used the right way.
A lot of people don't even realize that the county detectives are part of the district attorney's
right,
office, but they are. Their office is, I think, just about as big as our office in terms of number of employees, and they do a wonderful job. Again, that's the cream of the crop.
Right.
Only the best of the local detectives and police officers make it to the county detectives, as you did, and it's a popular job. People, you know, the detectives
They
want.
work close. You work close with. I remember.
We work very
I would work
closely.
with who was it? There was the first Supreme Court Newman, Sandra Newman.
Sandra Newman,
you know,
sure.
She was
That's right.
deputy, and I was a county detective at the time. We worked on some cases,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So,
She went all
now-
the way to the
now
top.
what do? You supervise.
Yeah,
trials.
right. I mean, I've been there for a long time now, and I've kind of risen up through the ranks.
You've
and
been here
now,
since what, 98?
since '98. I joined in the DA's office in March of 1998, and I've worked my way up to, I'm currently the chief of the trials division. And I'll go back to how the office is set up. The office is split up, you know, underneath Risa and Kevin. The office is split up into different divisions. We have a juvenile division, which obviously handles the juvenile
Do you
case.
have district attorneys for juvenile?
Sure, we have 3 district attorneys that work in the juvenile division. Wow. We have an appellate division that handles all of our appellate work, and there's 3 district
What do you mean by
attorneys.
appellate? Some people know the appellate.
Well, after a trial, for instance, after a defendant is convicted of a crime,
Right.
typically they're not too happy about being convicted of a crime, and so they appeal to the appellate courts. And
And appellate means appeal, like.
correct.
Why don't they say it to the church around?
The trials happen in the Court of Common Pleas here in Norristown at the courthouse. That's the trial level in Pennsylvania, the Court of Common Pleas. The next appellate level is called the Superior Court, and then the top appellate level in the top appellate court in Pennsylvania is the Pennsylvania Supreme Court.
Yeah, right.
So when a defendant is convicted after a trial, for instance, he'll appeal his conviction to the Superior Court and try to convince them to reverse the outcome of the trial.
In other words, you got Superior Court, and what's the other one? You got other courts Pennsylvania Court, the Supreme Court.
The Supreme Court up at the top, Superior Court in the middle, and the Courts of Common Pleas are the trial level courts.
Right.
Yeah. Those are the ones that handle the criminal end of things. There is also a Commonwealth Court as well, but that's a civil
Somebody's
court.
civil, okay, I see, yeah, okay. Now, what do you find, I gotta hit you cold, what do you find the most interesting part of your job? I'm gonna be like a big TV guy that hit you with a question like
Sure.
that.
Well, I mean, the most interesting, the most challenging thing that I do in my job is when I get a case that goes to a trial, that goes to a jury trial. There's nothing like prosecuting a case before a jury. It's a ton of work, a lot of work. I mean, when you're
Research.
Tons of research ahead of time. A lot of preparation goes into a trial. A lot of strategy decisions, and it's very intense when you get into. I mean, I don't know. It might be like being on television. It's
Gotta be ready.
You got to be ready. You got to be on, and you got to be ready for. It's an adversarial system. So there's a defense attorney who's working against what you're doing,
Right.
and
he's working just as hard to beat you up.
that's right. And so you got to be ready for what's coming, and you try to anticipate what they're doing. So it's a bit of a chess match when you get into a jury trial, and it's just I don't know how else to describe it other than it's a real challenge, and it's a bit of a
Just
rush.
like anything, like a sport. I mean,
your adrenaline.
I'm a former boxer.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I knocked the guy out. Great. I feel good about
Right,
it. Win a decision. Hey, the winner. I
Right.
feel good.
Well, of course.
When a district attorney wins a case, he feels that he did something good for his community.
That's right.
That's the feeling, and that's a great feeling because you got all the people that put their trust in you to take this to court, and that's what it's about.
That's very true, and it's not just about winning, because that's not
No.
winning in and of itself doesn't mean much. But if you're winning, because we have the truth on our side when we go to trial, and when we win, it's the truth is won,
Right.
and has gotten some kind of justice, and that really makes the winning something
Now,
special.
The district attorney, now, a lot of people don't get into the courthouse and don't have that much, maybe they don't have computers or whatever, and the district attorney's office goes out into to meet the people, right?
Sure.
Now, tell me something about some of the things I think, you mentioned something about a movie for helping as far as drugs, as far as other safety, especially for, had one of your gentlemen here, one of your DAs, talking about helping senior citizens and all.
Sure.
But tell
That
me
would be
something
Brad-
about
Brad Richmond.
what you have available that Risa Furman put together.
Sure. Well, when Risa, as I said, she's a career prosecutor, but when she got her chance to be district attorney, she really wanted to make a mark make her mark in the communities, and really wanted to give back to the communities in Montgomery County and the people of Montgomery County. And one of her top priorities, she's also a mom, by the way.
What's that? Oh, yeah?
Yes. And,
I never saw that now. How many kids you got?
well, we're all parents, and
Yeah.
and so
But
with,
that
with
comes
that
out.
with that in mind, I mean, she really has a great concern for the
Come
kids.
to think of it, it's a boy, because she brought him to the Columbus Monument. He's walking around, he was looking at the monument. What am I talking
Right.
about? You know, I'm 86 years old. Once in a while I get a little stonado, you know. Give me a break here, you know. But, yeah, all right. And
So-
she's half Italian, half Jewish, okay? She's my kumbari. Go ahead.
It's all true. But as I was saying, she has a great concern for kids, and she, as a prosecutor, as she was working her way up, she spent a lot of time prosecuting sex crimes,
Right.
and unfortunately, a lot of those crimes are perpetrated upon kids, and that deeply affected Risa as she was going through her career, and motivated her to establish the Mission Kids, which I'm sure
Mission
you've heard
Kid,
of.
yeah, that's great. Great. Preparing. Tell me a little about the. You know, I spent most of my career in police work in the DA's
Right.
office of the juvenile, preparing a juvenile to testify in
That's
court.
right.
You know, because they get there, the courtroom, and everything is, you know, strange to them, and they freeze, and you know, even adults.
It's
you know,
traumatic.
So you can imagine what the
Right.
juvenile. So preparing, because you want that your defendant, not defendant, but your witness, to be in shape and testify what happened.
Correct. I mean, a victim of a crime is traumatic for anybody,
Right.
and for a child, it's doubly so. And then, after they've been a victim of a horrible crime, then they come and they, as you said, they get put in this environment that they're not used to. It's a very scary thing with you know, attorneys yelling and judges and
Right.
jurors, and it can be a very traumatic
It's been very successful.
experience.
She clicked her fingers and got involved,
Correct.
and I'll tell you, the next thing you know, people start pouring money. Then they were the place out on the Skipback Pike, but then they turned around and got it done to save some money rather than spend a lot of money in the building. That money is helping the people.
Right,
So
and
that
they
is
have a
great.
spot now that they use, and it's a wonderful program. It's a kid-friendly environment for the victims of these crimes, the children, to come in and be in a more comfortable environment, and where they feel more comfortable and can tell the truth
That's
about
what
what
you need,
happened to them,
right.
and it helps them navigate their way through the criminal justice system in a way that is much less traumatic to them. And it's really a great program, and Risa deserves a ton of credit for putting it together.
All right. How about, tell me something about your family now.
Sure. Me?
Yeah.
Well, like
You're
I
a
said,
good-looking guy, you know. You got a future. You might be attorney general or a judge. You'd make a good judge.
well,
Got all the class to go with it, right?
well, I'd like to think so. I'm married now for 9 years, and I have a wonderful daughter who's in first grade right now.
First grade.
Mm-hmm. And you know, happy as could
What's
be
her name?
in that department. Kara.
What is
Kara. is her
Karen?
name. Kara.
Kara?
Yes.
Kara, is that T-A-R-R?
No, K-A-R-A.
Okay, Terra means land, no? Terra, that's what they say.
In Italian? You're
The
right.
Japanese were taking over.
Oh, I'm not sure.
Terra, there was a movie called Terra.
Tora, yes, Tora. No, not that.
Oh, we're good, bouncing off the radar here. But, okay. What is, you can't talk about present cases, but
Correct.
you've handled some high caliber type of, I
Sure.
guess that's the term you use, murder cases.
Yep.
Tell me just one that how'd you prepare it? How did you come to win it or knock them out, whatever you want to call it? I call them knockouts.
I've had the honor, the pleasure to work on several big cases, and again, that kind of goes back to what we were talking about before with the county detectives. Our homicide unit has the best
Chief
detectives.
Oscar Vance was my chief. Yeah.
Absolutely, Oscar Vance and Sam Gallen and all the rest of them are the most impressive group of people I know.
Right.
And it has been my honor to work with them on many murder cases. And one that sticks out was a Norristown case from about 5 years ago where a Norristown resident was killed in his home. And it was a robbery situation. and kind of a home invasion robbery kind of thing.
Okay.
And the investigation was a memorable one because after it happened, you know, these guys rushed into his house, and 3 guys rushed into his house.
3.
Yeah, and 3 guys went in. Each had a gun. 2 of the guys that went in each shot the victim once. Okay, so I had 2 shooters, but I had 3 guys that went in the house, and I had a getaway driver outside.
Whether they shot or not, they were there. They do anything to prevent it.
So all 4 of them ended up getting arrested. But the interesting part about that case was the police work involved was tremendous. After it happened, we didn't have any suspects. They got away, essentially. And all we had, it happened on Martin Luther King Day, which is a holiday in January.
That's tough, right.
And it was a particularly cold January day, and there was nobody out in the street. It happened in the afternoon, but there was, you know, it was a holiday, and it was it was like 15 degrees or something that day in Norristown, and so there was nobody out in the street. Everybody's home, you know, trying to stay warm that day. And so when this, as the guys that went in the house fled, they actually ran across the street, and I did have one motorist who was driving down one of the roads, did see them, but he couldn't see their faces because they were all bundled up and you know, had heavy coats on and hats, and they just ran across in front of him, and that's all he saw. They got in cars and took off.
That's the only evidence you had.
We were dead in the water. We had no leads, 0. And what happened was a concerned citizen, you know,
Boy, they're important.
Very important.
They're important.
And there are, you know, Norristown's a tough town, as you know.
Tough.
But there are a lot of good people that live in Norristown, and
They got a perception of, you know, of crime, but it's leveling off. It's leveling off little by little.
hopefully it's going in the right direction now.
But you always have some citizens will come up. Go ahead.
And we had one in this case who contacted the county detectives and notified them that they overheard one of the guys talking on his cell phone. And with that information, we were able to get some phone records that led us to, of all places, a veterinary hospital, and because that was one of the phone calls, and that didn't make any sense. Why you know, one of the guys in this murder would have a phone number that called a veterinary hospital. So we didn't really understand that, but the detective chased down that lead, even though it didn't seem like it would matter. It mattered a lot, because when he went to the veterinary hospital, he realized that he stumbled upon, because he went, you know, was thorough and followed that lead. Then again, this is one of our county detectives. Went out, followed that lead to the veterinary hospital, and ended up that he was talking to the girlfriend of one of the other people involved in the case. And she gave him some info and the name of her boyfriend. He went and talked to the boyfriend. The boyfriend told the story. And from there, we learned what had happened. That was the big break we needed.
Then you start moving.
And then we started moving. And then, you know, really all we need is a break like that, and we can run with it in a lot of different ways. And we utilized our investigating grand jury. We conducted wiretap recordings, phone recordings, with some of the defendants in the case, and we built up a really, you know, really airtight case against these 4 guys.
They all got convicted?
Well, 2 of them pled guilty. Two of the 4 that we charged pled guilty, and the 2 shooters went to trial, and that was a very memorable trial. That was I had the pleasure of trying before Judge Nicholas,
he's on the ball.
Absolutely, and one of the finest gentlemen, one of the greatest judges this county's ever had.
I worked under him. He was this great guy.
That's right. Was he the DA when?
He was the district attorney.
When you worked for the county?
Yeah, I worked under him. Yeah.
He's
Presley was a DA too.
Yep.
You know, they worked together and all. But Judge Moss and a lot of, you know, we're very fortunate here in Montgomery County to have we have good police departments. We got a district office. You know, we're in good shape. You know, And Norristown putting it together now. We have, we're revitalization, and I think we're moving with a theater, and things will work out, Got to remember, too, all sunshine makes deserts. You got to have some rain and snow. If you would have, we sometimes get some rain, snow, hail. We get like a tornado, but it'll work out. It'll work out a little. Okay. Now, every lawyer, every police officer wants to someday become chief of police. If you don't want to become chief of police, I mean, you don't have that initiative. You don't have that zip to go. I think so. Someday you want to become a judge or something, right? Wouldn't that be the thing?
Well,
you prepare yourself.
If I don't want to.
Well, I'm not going to campaign for you. If you want me to, I will.
Well, maybe I'll ask you someday. But
I'll be around. I'll help you.
Certainly, I don't want to seem egotistical or anything. But I would love to be a judge someday.
Right.
I mean, I've had the pleasure of working with some of the people that you've mentioned. Judge Nicholas, Judge Smythe,
right.
And these are guys. Judge Moore. These are guys who have become heroes to me as a lawyer and as a DA. And sure, if I could ever join their ranks as a judge here in Montgomery County, that would be a dream job. Sure.
Now, the district attorney's office. If some community, they say the Lions, the Kiwanis, a church, now, if they want to get some information or so, they can call the district attorney's office, right?
Absolutely,
Right.
absolutely. That kind of leads me back to what you had asked me about the movie that we had put together.
Go ahead, tell me about that.
Again, Reese is very concerned about the kids in Montgomery County, and unfortunately, we have had. I've personally prosecuted some of them, some homicide by vehicle cases.
Oh, okay.
Where and they're tragic cases where young people are killed on our roadways, and sometimes they have to do with drugs and alcohol. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes it's just kids out driving too fast, and they're heartbreaking. These cases. They're some, as a DA, they're some of the worst, most emotionally draining cases you can work on. Because they're terrible.
It's like if a teenager is high school kids after school, after a game or so, and again, 3 or 4 people get hurt in a car. He's responsible, and it's rough.
And we had a very, very sad one out of Lower Merion a few years ago, where some kids were at a party. There were some drugs, there was some alcohol. A bunch of kids piled in one kid's car, and he shouldn't have been driving. He was intoxicated, and unfortunately, one of the girls that was a passenger in the car kind of realized that I shouldn't be in this car, and tried to get out. And unfortunately, as she tried to get out of the car, she fell out of the car and was killed as the car, I think, careened off a pole.
It's an emotional thing when you have to prosecute a case like that.
Horrendous.
Right.
And so what Reese had tried to do with that case is try to make something good out of a horrible situation.
We have a film on that.
And we
that
did.
Be available. District Attorney's Office can.
Absolutely. We go out to schools, churches,
club,
civic
whatever.
organizations.
Okay, our half hour is over.
Okay.
But we talked about teenagers driving cars, so please be careful. And the district attorney's office, all right, they put people in jail, okay, but they're trying to keep people out of hospitals and try to keep them, out of jail too.
Safe.
Okay, so that's the job of a police officer. Crime prevention, you can work it out. Well, it's been a pleasure. All these years, I read about you. I never met you. So, boy, it's been a pleasure here today.
It's been a pleasure.
Really.
It's a pleasure for me.
I really appreciate you coming on. And tell Risa, I said thank you.
I will.
And we'll get together. So, ladies and gentlemen, till we meet again, keep bobbing and weaving, and keep your left hand high, and stick and move. And it's an old phrase the guy said, never, don't worry about the mule going blind, get in the wagon, hold the line. So until we meet again, keep bobbing and weaving, and here's a little token of appreciation you hang in your office.
Excellent.
Not hanging, you set on the office, okay?
I will. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.